Okay, so the transmission lines are used to transmit electrical energy or signals from one point to another, which is these 2 points are usually the source to the load or the source to the destination. Schematically, it can be represented like this, which is a very simple block diagram. You have the signal source over here and the destination or the load at a certain distance from the signal source, and the transmission line connects the signal source to destination or the load, and it carries the signals from the signal source to the destination or the load. Now, some examples from communication engineering perspective is listed down here. So you're likely to come across a transmission line in these examples or these situations. These are examples from a communication engineering perspective. Data transmission from one computer to another. If you have a wired data transmission from one computer to another, you will have a transmission line over there. And cable service provider to the TV sets, you will find a transmission line there. And if you are having an antenna at the top of your house and the signals from the antenna to the TV sets, you need a transmission line over there. And of course, the other way of it, from a transmitter to the antenna, you need a transmission line. And one more example, if I may add, connections between devices in an RF circuit board. Now, depending on the application, a transmission line may be constructed in different forms, but basically they will have two conducting wires arranged in a particular fashion, insulated from each other obviously, and there will be an outer covering, a protective outer covering. An example of the construction of a particular type of transmission line is shown here. I have also added this figure in the materials which I have uploaded in your classroom. Now, to conduct an analysis over transmission lines, we need to understand what is meant by the lumped element model of transmission lines. Now, let's say this is a transmission line. You have I'm just showing it like this. This is the transmission line I have. There is a source, a signal source here, which I have shown as a sinusoidal source. It is basically an AC source. And the transmission line connects that source to the load, which I have shown here. Let's say the length of the transmission line is L meters. And let's say that this is aligned along the z-axis. For the ease of discussion, let's say that it is aligned along the z-axis. And this is the transmission line, and I have shown it here as two lines, conducting lines, and separated by an insulator. They are themselves insulated. Now, as I said earlier, the construction may vary depending on the application, but basically this is what it is. Now, there are certain parameters which we call as transmission line parameters. Obviously, this transmission line will have a series resistance, which we will represent as resistance per unit length of the transmission line. So that will be expressed as R, ohm per meter. That is a series resistance. It is the resistance per unit length of the transmission line, and this resistance is actually distributed over the transmission line because the transmission line is going to be fairly long over here. So R ohm per meter is the resistance of the transmission line per unit length, which means that the entire line is going to have a resistance of R into L, since its length is assumed to be L. That is what we mean by R, the first transmission line parameter, the resistance per unit length, R ohm per meter. Similarly, you can have an inductance because you have two conducting wires fairly close together. You will have an inductance which will be L Henry per meter. Again, it is per unit length. You will have a capacitance because you have two conducting wires separated by a dielectric. Now, however small that capacitance is, there is definitely going to be some capacitance which will be C farad per meter. Again, it is per unit length. And no dielectric is perfect, which means that there is going to be some conductance between the lines. So there is going to be a shunt conductance, which we will express as G Siemens per meter. It is again expressed as something per unit length. Again, if you want to calculate what is the total shunt conductance of this line, then it is G into L. Now, let's say that we take a small section of this long transmission line of L length L meters. We take a small section, a tiny section. Now it's aligned along the z-axis. So let's take a small section of length delta z, a very small section, infinitesimally small. Its exploded view will be like this. Its magnified view will be like this. Now, since the length is delta z, the resistance of this tiny section will be R into delta z, and that will be in series. So I'm going to represent this tiny strip, a small section of the transmission line, in the form of a circuit. So the resistance of this will be R into delta z. The inductance will be L into delta Z. See that I am multiplying the transmission line parameters with the length delta Z, because as I said earlier, the transmission line parameters are given per unit length. So the length, the resistance of this will be R into delta Z. Inductance will be L delta Z. They are coming in series. And the shunt conductance will be represented like this, G into delta Z. Again, I multiply with delta Z. And the shunt capacitance, the capacitance between the lines of this small tiny section, is given by C delta Z. And you have the input voltage and the output voltage. So basically you have a simple circuit here. And Vi and V0 that I have shown here correspond to the voltage here and the voltage here for this tiny section. So we can see the long transmission line as something that is made up of such tiny sections, such tiny units of length delta z each, which we put together to form the long transmission line, which will have the resistance distributed all over it, the inductance distributed all over it, capacitance distributed all over it, and the shunt conductance distributed all over it. Now, using this model, we will derive what we call as the transmission line equations, and the solution of that tells us how the voltage and the current is going to vary over a transmission line of fairly long length, which will help us in designing systems using transmission lines. Okay, so now that we have the lumped element model of the transmission line, let us derive the transmission line equations. Transmission line equations. So we'll derive this in the following. So the lumped element model, I will just draw it here for my quick reference. I have explained what are these elements already. Right, so this is the model. Length delta z or delta z, L delta z, G delta z, the shunt conductance, C delta z. And let's say that the drop, we are having an input voltage here. The drop, it's a simple circuit analysis that I will be performing now. This is delta V. The drop across these two is delta V, and the potential here is V. That is across this is V, which means that this will be V plus delta V. And let the current here be I. That's the current here. It is delta I here, and the remaining current goes on to the next stage. So delta I is the current which is going to flow through this shunt, the parallel combination of the shunt conductance and the capacitance. Right, now let's use KVL and KCL. So I'll write down the relations one by one, which must be quite simple because the circuit basically is a very simple one. Delta V, the potential drop here, is equal to R delta Z I plus L delta Z, and the potential across an inductors in an inductor, you know, it is L delta Z dou I by dou T. Now we can bring this delta Z over here. We can divide both sides with delta Z, and since this section is going to be very small, in assuming that this section is going to be very small, delta Z and delta V will become incremental, and we can write by bringing this over here, dividing both sides by the delta Z, and assuming delta Z is becoming very small in the limit, we can write a differential equation like this. Dou V by dou Z is Ri plus L dou I by dou T. Let's say equation 1. Now we can write similarly delta I, the current delta I is equal to G delta Z and this potential which is V plus, since you know the relation Q is equal to CV, I will be C dou V by dou T. So I write here C delta Z dou V by dou T, dividing both sides with delta Z, and in the limit as delta Z becomes very small, we end up getting a similar differential equation, dou I by dou Z equal to G V plus C dou V by dou T. That is equation 2. Now we have actually a set of a set of coupled equations between V and I. It is possible to eliminate one of them from these two. Using these two, it is possible to eliminate either I or V and get a differential equation in terms of the other, which we have not eliminated. Let's say we are going to eliminate I, we can get a differential equation for V, which if we solve, we'll come to know how the voltage is going to be distributed over the transmission line. Similarly, if you are going to eliminate V and get a differential equation in I, solve it, and you will know how the current is distributed over the transmission line. So let us proceed towards that. So we'll eliminate one of this. What I do first is we'll eliminate I. So I differentiate this again with respect to Z. So you can see I get dou square V by dou Z square R dou I by dou Z. R is not changing with respect to Z because it's assumed to be constant for that tiny section. R dou I by dou Z. So I can see dou I by dou Z here, and I see hopes of replacing it with this, but before that I have to complete this task. Continuing with differentiation with respect to Z, dou square I dou Z dou T. Let's say, yeah, we'll not number this, we'll number the remaining two. Again, what I do is I will differentiate this with respect to T, because I have this over here, I'll have to eliminate it. So I'll differentiate this with respect to T. I get dou square I dou t dou z equal to G dou V by dou t plus C dou square V by dou t square. Yeah. Now we look at this, and wherever possible we'll replace the I terms. So here in place of dou I by dou z I can write this, that is equation 2. So equation 2 will replace dou I by dou z here. So I will get R G V plus R C dou V by dou t, because dou I by dou z, this dou I by dou z is replaced with this, and I get RGV plus RC dou V by dou t. Then you have plus L, and this dou square I by dou z dou t is replaced by this. So I get L G dou V by dou t plus L C dou square V by dou t square, which can be written in a more elegant form. I can combine these two because you have dou V by dou t appearing in two different ways. RGV plus RC plus LG dou V by dou t plus LC dou square V by dou t square. So you can see that we have a differential equation now, which is a differential equation in V, that is the potential. If we solve this, we will know how the potential is distributed over the transmission line. So if you solve this, you'll get to know how the potential is distributed over transmission line. We will proceed to the solution later. Meanwhile, let us call this as equation 3. And if you repeat similar steps, and instead of eliminating V, if you eliminate I, so you just have to repeat these steps with dou square V by dou square I by dou z square and so on. And if you do that successfully, you will end up getting an identical equation with V replaced by I. It is an identical equation. This is equation 4. So these are the transmission line equations. We will discuss the solution of this for a few specific cases later. So we had we derived the transmission line equations, and if you take a look at those transmission line equations, you can see that they are basically wave equations. So what we do now is we will solve the transmission line equations which we derived earlier, and we will first solve it for a simple case. So we are going to find solutions to the transmission line equation, and we'll take a very simple case first, a case where R equal to 0 and G equal to 0. So if R is equal to 0 and G is equal to 0, we have a lossless transmission line, because you know that whenever there is resistance in series during transmission, that resistance is going to convert your voltage and current into power, and it's going to heat the transmission line. So in its absence, there will be no such wastage of power. And once G is 0, the presence of G is basically going to short the transmission line in the long run. But since G is 0, there is no such effect, and the signals remain as they are with respect to Z. That is, so basically when R is equal to 0 and G is equal to 0, there is no loss. So the case that I'm going to consider is one which is lossless. R is equal to 0 and G is equal to 0. So solution to transmission line equations assuming lossless conditions, R is equal to 0, G is equal to 0, to reiterate. Now, when R is equal to 0 and G is equal to 0, the transmission line equations which we derived starts to appear very simple. So I'll take the voltage equation first. it is LC. So just LC, it is not LG, it is LC, dou square V by dou T square. So I can see, in fact, it starts to look more like a wave equation now. This is the equation, the differential equation, which describes the evolution of voltage with respect to Z. And let us say that V ZT, it's a function of the space as well as time coordinates. Let's say that VZT has a sinusoidal time variation, which means that in complex exponential notation, we can write like this. So basically, we would use this notation because of the inherent advantages involved. So VZT is, the time variation is sinusoidal. So hence we write it as Vz e raised to j omega t. Now, our equation, when you substitute it over here, which I will not do because it's a very simple step, differentiate twice with respect to time, minus omega square LC V. That is what you are going to get. So this is basically now a differential equation in only Z. So maybe I should better call it as an ordinary differential equation in Z, in V, which describes variation with respect to Z. And the solution to this is very simple, as you know. V naught, which will be the constant, e raised to plus or minus j omega root LC Z. So this is the solution for this, which means that V ZT is equal to V naught e power j omega t plus or minus omega root LC Z. Now for positive values here, this represents a wave which propagates in the negative Z direction. Please recall that we have assumed our transmission line to be aligned along the Z axis for ease of discussion. So whenever this is plus, you know that it is a wave which is propagating in the negative Z direction. And when it is minus, it is a wave which is propagating in the positive Z direction. We know this from our discussions on uniform plane waves. So basically, the voltage across a transmission line is varying when it's said sinusoidally varying with respect to time. You have a variation with respect to Z also, which is sinusoidal, and the whole thing appears as a potential which propagates along the transmission line. And as I said, if it is plus sign, it is propagating the negative Z direction, and if it is a negative sign here, it is propagating in the positive Z direction. And again, recalling what we studied in the case of uniform plane waves, we see that this is a lossless case. So one can relate this with the free space propagation or propagation in a perfect dielectric, lossless dielectric. If you relate it to that, you see that the role of phase constant, which was played by beta, which was represented by beta, which was denoted by beta, which was symbolized by beta in uniform plane waves, that role is played here by omega root LC. Because over there we used to have exponential term like this, j omega t plus or minus beta z. So the role of beta is played by omega root LC, which means that the phase velocity of the propagating voltage over the transmission line is, if you recall, the phase velocity for in the case of uniform plane waves in a similar situation was this, or omega by beta, the phase velocity. And in this case, when you do the same things, because beta's role is played by omega root LC, if you try to find out the phase velocity here, you can see that it is 1 by root LC. This is the phase velocity for the transmission lines when it is a lossless condition. So another thing is that I can show schematically now, if this is the transmission line along the z-axis, the potential variation will be sinusoidal and it will propagate depending on numerical sign here. It will propagate either in this direction, the positive z direction, or the negative z direction, and the wavelength will be, again recalling that the wavelength, the wavelength in the case of uniform plane waves, if you recall, lambda, the wavelength was 2 pi by beta. So if you recall that here and note that the role of beta is played by omega root LC, the wavelength becomes 2 pi by omega root LC, which we can write, because omega can be written as 2 pi f, it becomes 1 by f root LC. So this is the solution. This is what we could infer by solving the wave equation, the transmission line equation rather, for V, assuming a lossless case, R is equal to 0, G is equal to 0. We end up getting a solution for the potential like this. It is propagating in the form of a sinusoidal wave over the transmission line. The voltage is propagating like a sinusoidal wave over the transmission line.